Stand by for the Brewery Underground podcast.
In Nashville's harbor wise, cracked and bruised when we've disguised. Stephen Scott, they lead the way. Brewery Underground, night and day. Raise your glass, let's ignite. In this city, we unite. Raise your glass, let's ignite. In this city, we unite.
Did I see that the Newport, Kentucky location building used to be a Hudapol? Is that how you say it? Hudapol? Brewery warehouse? Hudapol. Did it used to be a warehouse for them?
Well, it was, but I don't think I thought it was Wiedemann. I don't think it was Udipol, but it might have been, but it was a warehouse. Yes, definitely.
Okay, I just saw that. I thought that was
It's all that great karma coming together, I guess.
Yeah, we were
Hey,
at
what's beer?
Wiedemann. Yeah, we were at Wiedemann, and back in May, we went to May of 2025. We went up there and we stopped in a Wiedemann. I've been there a few times.
And the new Wiedemann that's in the old funeral home.
Yeah, well, okay, give me like I'll tell you this story in about a minute because I don't want to bore you guys too much. Where I grew up, most of my family was from St. Bernard. My grandparents from there, my dad was from there, and before you mentioned the funeral home, we had the funerals for a lot of the Sullivans when I was younger, and then when our cousins and I, when we found out years ago that they were going to turn it into a brewery, we actually met there when it was a brewery. And we're like, a toast to the Sullivans. We had not been in that building for 30, 40 years. And there used to be funerals. It was kind of odd, but it's kind of odd, but it's kind of cool at the same time. So
That's kind of full circle.
yeah, a lot of history there. A lot of history.
Beer brings us all back.
It does. Yeah.
Hey, in this country, and we're going to get into Oktoberfest here in a minute, but seasonal beers, and Oktoberfest is the example of that, come out, seems to be earlier and earlier every year. Do you guys have to balance that here in the States with your beer, with what they do in Munich, like as far as the seasons go, or at least it's specifically the Oktoberfest beer?
We for our main ones, seasonal wise, obviously it'd be our Maibach, and then the summertime we bring in our Keller beer, which is the unfiltered original, and then obviously we roll into Oktoberfest, and we do then at this time of year now, it should be hitting the markets within the next few weeks, would be our Doppelbock, the Delicater. So where this gets a little tricky is one thing people don't realize about Hofbräu is everybody knows our name, but we are actually the smallest of the 6 Munich breweries. So if you see our brewery, you'd be really shocked by its size. A lot of the beers that they make for us are specific to the U.S. So finding the time for production, aging, and everything is a very complicated scheduling process over there for the logistics team at the brewery. So that's why we try to bring things in. We align pretty much with what they can do to meet our needs. The Germans think we're nuts that we want Maibach in February, but that's when it, people will drink it. When it hits 70 degrees, no one's going to touch a Bach beer in the Midwest. So it's just the way it is. So we kind of, we move to when they produce, but they also kind of adjust slightly the best they can to when we need product by. So, so the Maibach is one. I mean, they'll start brewing that before they shut down for the holidays, and then it'll age in the tanks, and then they'll be packaging that up at the end of January to ship out right away, beginning of February. Then the next thing for us, the Keller is easy because that's just unfiltered original lager. But we get our Oktoberfest orders usually submitted to the brewery by April 1st because we're the largest export market for Hofbräu. So obviously our orders are a big chunk of what they have. This was actually the first year that we had Oktoberfest orders that the brewery was not able to meet all of our orders on. So which is, it's that style and people looking for authenticity and heritage. But so it's a little bit of adjustment on both sides. I mean, if in order to get all the Oktoberfest we need, they got to start brewing that. They start pre-brewing for us. Basically in March, April. So especially unique packages like the loose packages that we may do for Costco or the 5-liter cans, things like that. The 5-liter cans and 5-liter cans and 16.9 cans we have to ship the beer off-site to get packaged because we don't have the capability of doing it at the brewery. So a lot of logistics and technical things in the background that people, just they don't see. But again, it makes it for a challenge. And of course, that all does add on to why imported beer does cost a little more because there's a lot of other costs incurred on that side. So we drive our beer around to a lot of different places before it makes its way to you. So
Yeah. Are you competing with like shelf space around that time for Oktoberfest beer? Like, how the stuff like Sam Adams will come out in, I don't know, August.
yeah, it's in the chain markets and the chain accounts in particular, this stuff is these programs and stuff are sold in months ahead of time, and that space is all allocated out and predetermined and everything. But that's where, like Jerry talked about, for the independents and stuff, that's where our area representatives come in handy. Their relationships with our wholesalers, key accounts, going in there to get the cuckoos going off.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I
So,
wasn't just
but
hearing it in my head.
I heard
exactly.
the cuckoo
But,
heard Oktoberfest, and it's like going crazy now. We got Oktoberfest
Yeah,
going
exactly. Yep.
on.
But yeah, so it's that's a little bit of both there. I mean, some of the stuff's predetermined, but other stuff depends on our local wholesalers and our local people to get that done out there. The one thing that again, this comes back to people's experiences and education. Over the years, people have realized that Oktoberfest beers aren't amber Marzen beers; they're light Marzen beers. I'll never forget the first time I was over in Munich, and I used to sell beer in Chicago, and Beck's was one of my brands. And I was at Oktoberfest, and I asked for a Oktoberfest beer, and they brought me this beautiful, golden colored beer. And I said to the waitress, I said, I think you brought me the wrong beer. I want it on Oktoberfest. And she said, "Where are you from?" I said, "United States." She said, "We keep the good stuff for ourselves." So that's when I realized that, that Oktoberfest is different. So, and actually, this is a decision that goes back to Fred Schumacher and Rudy Zeider, who's our head of export. When they were deciding on bringing Oktoberfest into the United States market, they said, "Do we do like the rest of the states and bring in, the amber like Sam Adams and Beck's and everybody else did? Or do we bring in our Oktoberfest?" And they made the decision, well, let's bring in what they serve in Munich. And so people know exactly what people over there are enjoying and talking about. So in
Love it.
hindsight, that was a tremendous decision because, again, it gave us an excellent point of differentiation going into fighting for retail space as well as draft handles. When you go into an account and they say, "Well, I already committed to Sam Adams," we're like, "Well, that's an amber Marzen Oktoberfest. We're the true Oktoberfest, a style that you can drink in the tents in Munich for 16 days. And that opens their eyes and ears and hopefully an opportunity for us.
And I always sit there and think the Hofbräuhaus brand stands for tradition, and it's like, how important is that for you guys, representing the brand and standing by that tradition?
Well, it's incredibly important. So we don't just sell beer. We sell history, we sell culture, and we sell quality, and all three are interwoven in everything that we do. So to be able to stand tall and stand proud and talk to a customer about how authentic we are and how true to the brand we are, it means an awful lot, and not too many people can duplicate that sales approach. And it's all as honest and true as you can possibly get. We're authentic through and through. So when we see a lot of Oktoberfest out there, and we see some brands that aren't very good Oktoberfest, and everybody trying to jump
Yeah.
on the Oktoberfest train, well, it's Munich. We were there for the first one. We're there now. We are the authentic ones. This is what you drink if you join my 10,000 friends out there at Oktoberfest. This is what they're drinking. So it's very important to us.
Yeah, and you really get that sense of protectors of history and tradition when you meet certain people at the brewery as well. I mean, the brewery, again, state owned. It was founded by the royal family, and then they turned it over to the state of Bavaria in the late 1800s, 1874, 9, something like that. So they look at it as the passing on of a state treasure, history, and what they are, and an icon for what Bavaria and in particular what Munich represents. And they have a saying over there. A lot of the employees say, "Oh, for the crown, for the crown." They still talk about, the importance of that. And the beer itself, there's some great stories about, the history that the Hofbräu beer has had in Munich. The story of the Maibach, being the beer that saved Bavaria, during the 30 Years' War. The Danish armies had Munich surrounded, and they were on the verge of sacking the city and wiping it off the map. But the Duke negotiated a peace with them. Obviously there's money to change hands and everything. And the story goes, part of the buyout was 1,000 buckets of beer, but the Danes stated that 300 had to be Maibach or it was a no deal. So, they still celebrate with Maifest in Munich, and they still celebrate it with Hofbräu Maibach because that's the beer that, saved Bavaria. So just some great little historical stories like that. I mean, that the beer, the brewery is just woven into their history and is a part of it, hands-on part of it, not just along for the rides.
And I think what really, when I started thinking about getting you guys on this podcast, Scott and I were, talking about getting you all on this podcast and talking about the history of it, is not only the history, but to keep the tradition alive and finding the right people to keep that tradition alive. How is that an easy thing, do you think? Is that a hard thing? Well, I'd love to hear from both of you on that.
Well, I'll give you guys the story of Jerry. First of all, finding finding people is a challenge. More so now than ever. But everybody in our company, we've never advertised to hire anybody. It's always been word of mouth and recommendation. That's before I was with Hofbräu, I was 9 years with SAB Miller, and then I was a distributor in Chicago. And I always found that our best people were people that came by recommendation, because people don't give you somebody's name that they don't believe in, and obviously they want to make certain that they're doing you they're putting both of you and the person they recommend in a great position to succeed. So obviously, when we started looking we needed somebody in the Ohio area market. We go to our distributors first, our wholesaler, and say, hey, is there anybody out here that you recommend? Do you have anybody, first off, in your own organization that, that's ready to move on, but you don't have a place for him, him or her, you'd rather see him work with you than against you? Or do you have a competitor out there that we should go after and try to hire? Usually there's always good recommendations out there, whether they be from our wholesalers. They might know of an excellent bartender or bar manager or liquor store manager, things like that. And in the case with Heidelberg, they were familiar with Jerry from having worked with him in different stages of his career in the market. And, they gave his name to us, and, came out there, met Jerry, and Jerry and I have had some histories that crossed over with different breweries and stuff like that. So again, I think you tend to in my experiences, I've always found the best people through people. So that's been the way it worked for me.
Yeah, and Steve has done a great job of kind of curating a nice team. My background, I spent my first 17 years out of college with the Stroh Brewery Company out of Detroit, in field sales, working in Alabama and Georgia and North Carolina, places like that. And then I moved on to Labatt, which became InBev, and Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah.
So you learn an awful lot in situations like that. You take a lot from it. With the InBev portion, that's why I sold Stella when it was brewed in Belgium, and some great brands with history. But I got to the point in my career where I wanted to look for something that I could finish my career in, something that I believed in, something that customers could believe in. I wasn't just telling a story; it was true. It was a good thing to have. People would be happy to see it because of it, and I was thankful for the opportunity that Steve gave me. But I have to say, I am one of the more senior guys in the company, and some of the people have accused me of being one of the original employees of Hofbräu. That's not true. And I had one occasion where I was working with a young salesperson who might have been 22 or 23, and we walked into a liquor store, and the owner of the place said, "What was it? Bring your dad to work day." But I try to teach people. But no, having the right people in the right place. And believing in yourself and the product you sell is the most important thing you can do. And when you have a company with so much history and so much pride, it's very easy to do. So piece of cake.
Are there things that you, even though you guys have been with the company for a long time, are there things about this brand that you're still learning?
Yeah, I probably learned some things from Steve tonight about it. Just when you've got 440 years of history, yeah, there's things that you can learn about it. And when it comes to brewing, it's such a technical process. But there are things that I could learn every day. I went back through and looked at the website and everything else to prepare for this. And if you're not learning it, you're relearning it.
Yeah, it's and things, even though things that there's a lot of consistency and stuff, there's also a lot of adaptation that has to take place. Over in Germany right now too. A lot of similar economic conditions like we have and everything. And things are more challenging. Finding the right employees, sourcing. Again, you use the same hops, you use the same malts from the same providers and everything, but weather conditions and everything, can affect all that. So. I'm really happy when I get a chance to spend time with our brewers, because obviously brewing in Bavaria is something that's just, to be a brewer in Bavaria, the education, the effort, the pride and everything. So, and when you're with these guys, they really do love to talk about beer, but it's nice because they talk about it in a way you can understand, but they also talk about it with such a point of pride and passion that you really kind of, when you get done talking to them, you really feel like you walk through a wall. So, but it really is different, and it really is a nice thing to be a part of. As Jerry mentioned, we've got different brands to our own history and everything, and building a brand is never easy, and then also putting the time and effort into something that and then seeing it go in a different direction can be heartbreaking. So at least with this brand, the people we put together on it, like Jerry mentioned, this is something that we're a part of, we're building. And it's, as in Munich, it's been here for years, and it'll be here for years longer, as long as we do our job and do our job well. The people who take up after us will have a good foundation to continue to build on and introduce people to this wonderful, wonderful brand and the history as well that it represents.
And just to, the other thing, most imports there's an import company that has several different brands that they import, that they sell, that they market. For us, it's just Hofbräu, and we're relatively small, so we have to work a lot harder sometimes to get the share of mind than our competitors who are lumped in with several other big imports. That they have big chain departments and big marketing departments and everything else. And as Steve said, we're a band of 12 or 13 people trying to do it all, trying to do what other people do with hundreds of people.
Because you have brewing facilities in the States, do you have certain freedoms here? Not with the traditional beers, but can you brew some stuff here that you can't just because you're catering to the U.S. market?
No. The franchises are those guys. They have limited capacity. They brew predominantly for on-site consumption as part of their agreement with the brewery. They do, however, they were allowed to. They did discuss and the need to adapt to their markets and compete with some of the other guys. So they do their own growlers and crowlers now too, where they sell their own beers. So they produce those would probably be they're their own beers, but they do variations. So you'll get a Hopweiss or like a different kind of beer that they brew. But the main beers they brew there, the ones that are in line with the brewery, the original, the Hefeweizen, the Dunkel. Those are all in line with the brewery recipes, and then they'll brew some off styles, and then in particular they do bring in imported Maibach and Oktoberfest kegs as well in certain quantities, just so they people like to taste the home and versus and what's here, and everybody likes to become a judge and a critic and everything too. So, but that's the only place you'll find it, and whatever they brew, again, that's for their own business, over there. So we do not take anything from the brew pubs and, reintroduce that into retail through our wholesalers.
Okay. There's this little event that happens, and we touched on it earlier here. It's called Oktoberfest, and it's kind of a big deal for the world, I think. And one of the things, there's a sport that kind of goes with it, and we see it in this country, and it's called I'm gonna murder this word, but Masskrugstemmen. Stein Holding.
By the way, I was going to let Scott take this one.
You're going to let me butcher that word.
I was like, you go ahead and butcher that word.
I looked up how to pronounce it and everything, and I know I butchered it, but There's
You
a
did
Stein
pretty
Holding
good, though, really.
competition.
You did pretty good, really.
Yeah.
My first try. Well, I got the Moss, right? Because this is what this is.
Yep.
This is
Yep.
we learned this from Scott Murdy. This is a Moss and not a Stein.
Yep.
That's right. So, but it that goes hand in hand with Oktoberfest. I'm sure it does over there. You see it everywhere here. Everybody's got a Stein Holding competition.
It actually is more of an American thing than it is over there, believe it or not. They do, the servers have their competitions and stuff, but it's been interesting because as it's grown over here in popularity, the Germans over there are scratching their head asking us why. They don't quite get it. But the last few years, it's been on numerous news. We do a national event and a championship all year long, and it ends up in New York City with the Steuben Day Parade and a big event in Central Park. And it's amazing how it's grown. But it really is just an American thing that's really caught on. The last couple of years, there was a documentary crew from Europe who came over to do the whole thing and try to get an idea on what's going on with it. And we just had an article just came out. An Austrian writer was over during the Maskrug in New York, interviewing contestants and trying to get an idea on what this is all about. But Jerry holds several of these events. He's kind of like our Masskrug king in terms of putting these events together and getting people on board with it. But it's just something that came up years ago. And it was, again, something that went back to Fred Schumacher and a gentleman in New York City who was the head of their Steuben committee. And oddly enough, an Irish Cuban named Lenny Coyne, who ran the German club out there. And Lenny did this Masskrug out there and was looking for a sponsor. And Fred and him met and got together on it. And they started holding this thing in Central Park every year. And we've just used that as a marketing tool and tried to grow it, in specific areas with key accounts. And, Sam Adams has done it. Other people have had it. But it just seems like, people tend to, again, gravitate towards the authentic. So it's interesting. I mean, it's a 5.5 pound. When that beer is full, it's 5.5 pounds. And again, leave it to the Germans to invent a drinking game where you never drink the beer,
Just hold it.
Yeah, but Jerry runs several of these events, and it's amazing the crowd turnout, the participation, the excitement. I'm sure he can add a little more color to the story.
Yeah, I think there's I think a lot of people are really competitive. For me, it's kind of fun because I've talked people into participating in these events. I've been at a whatever event it was, a Mai Fest or an Oktoberfest or whatever, and have talked people into it and that do it, and they'll get hooked. And thank God for social media, I guess, because there is such an incredible community of Steinhoisters, Masskrugstemmen participants. I get friend requests from people that I have no idea who they are, and I just automatically assume it's someone from this community of people that love to go to these Stein Holding competitions. And again, it kind of goes back to the sincerity of who we are. It's camaraderie. It becomes camaraderie. Somebody might get beat by a guy who turns out to be his best friend 2 months later. It's a phenomenon that I really don't understand. I would have never guessed it, but I try to do them at bigger events in the springtime. Again, whether it's a spring fest or whatever, and you'll get 30 or 40 guys competing. Trying to judge it is a nightmare in itself, but and all of a sudden the crowd, it'll be during a break from the bands, so people are still on the dance floor, still by that, and the crowds just keep getting closer and closer. It's almost like you need security just to keep the people back, and you get the chance, hold that beer, hold that, it's just. Yeah, it just is absolutely exploded when I started 7 years ago when we did them. It was kind of a task to have to do it, but now it's incredible how much it's caught on. And the other thing is, you don't have to be a 30-year-old who's 6'4" and all muscle to win it. We've got a guy here in Cincinnati who's there's a parallel organization to ours, but a guy in Cincinnati who's 73 years old, and
Wow.
man, he's the best in Ohio year after year, and he's been to New York. 2 years ago, the female national championship is a wonderful lady who actually lives in Georgia but competed in Ohio because she was from Cleveland, and we talked her into doing it at an event, and she became really good. But she's she might be 5'8", 140 pounds, and 63 or 64 years old, and she is the national champion. It just amazes me. Anytime you get to watch one of these competitions, watch it and start practicing, because we're going to sign you for the next event.
Yeah. So here's a couple questions. It almost I don't know if this is a great comparison or not, but it kind of reminds me every year 4th of July, like the hot dog contest. Like, how does he do that, right?
Yeah.
So how do they do it? How do they do it, Jerry? When you're hearing the stories from people about how they're doing and how they're gearing up and how they're training for this, what have you heard about some of the different things that they're trying to do?
Yeah, they have their own methods. I know one person who trained by lifting pumpkins. The gentleman that I talked about works for UPS, and he just built incredible muscles doing all the stuff that UPS guys do over time. But I know people that have actually hired physical therapists to work on the muscles that they need to be an effective. There's all different methods, and when it comes right down to the competition, it's generally some kind of focus that they have to have. They just have to put themselves in a different world and just tough it out. And there's the national champion this year. Our champion, what was it, 24 minutes, Steve?
24 minutes. We never thought anybody would break the record at 21. He did it for 24 minutes.
My God.
Yeah.
Which I could probably do it for 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes.
The average is 5.
You guys should try it.
The average is 5, you said?
Yeah, but I mean, just try it yourself. I mean, you just hold it out straight, your full beer, 5.5 pounds, you just hold it out straight, thumb on the side, arms flat, shoulder length. And, after about 3 minutes, you start feeling the burn and everything. And it's crazy. And you mentioned people training, the last years, usually our winners come out of 2 places, oddly enough. There's a small town in Texas called New Brunsfeld, which is a little German town. And they call it the Steinesty down there. They've been posting the male and female winner like several of the last few years. Krause's the main account down there. They've got a big beer hall. It's Texas, so it's kind of like an open, the doors open up. But what they've done is they've taken Bavarian flags with the HB logo, and they put the winner's name, date, and time on there, and all their champions hang in the rafters. And then it usually comes down to them and a bar out in Philadelphia, Brauhaus Schmitz. They've been posting winners too. But yeah, the winner this year, he was, I think he was from Seattle, right, Jerry? I think he's from a beer hall out in Seattle.
Actually, I think he lives in New Jersey, but he qualified first in California at Big Bear.
This is the other thing we get.
Yeah, he made his way across the country competing in other contests just for the fun of it. He's retired. His wife competes as well. So it's pretty incredible. I say I don't understand, but I kind of do, because they're all really good people, and they're fun to be around. And I'm glad I don't have to compete against them.
And as Jerry mentioned, they all text each other, email each other. They all become friends after their weekend together and everything. So yeah, you just search New York City Masskrugstemmen, your Central Park Oktoberfest. See some of the videos. 3,500 people screaming, "Hold that beer, hold that beer!" It's crazy. It's definitely something to see. So
and the great thing is, they've all become really good spokespeople for us as well. They appreciate what we do, how we got them started, how we got them into it. And there's a lady out of Akron, Ohio, Katja Erickson, and it was just a phenomenal person and an incredible spokesperson. You would swear she was on our payroll as much as she pumps up Hofbräu and Masskrugstemmen. But really, really good people. I mean, if you're going to be associated with people, those are the people you want to be associated with. They're just good people.
Have you guys both tried it, and what are your records?
Why bother? If I pour a beer, it's to drink, not to stare at for 5 minutes. So
that's 5 minutes. I'm not having a beer.
Here's what I do. So when I give instructions, when I judge, I I do it perfect for about 30 seconds. And I said, okay, so that's how you have to do it. And I'm done.
Good luck after that.
You guys take over.
And what's
Yeah.
nice about that is somebody else doesn't have to worry about being the first one out. You're like, I'll volunteer for that.
Right.
We did it at a friend's house back. We had an Oktoberfest party or whatever. We just did it for the hell of it. And we all went about 2.5 minutes, but we all would have been disqualified in 30 seconds because there's leaning and then there's
Yeah.
your arms waving, all that kind of stuff. The first time you move anything, you're out, right, Jerry? I mean,
Well, you get a couple of warnings that, the crucial thing is that you don't spill a drop. That's
Yeah.
an automatic disqualifier because we want
Yeah.
to waste good beer.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's certainly not.
And it's tough. Some of the lines are blurred. It's just, how far back you can lean. And, you just try to do your best and judge fairly when
Yeah. Ultimately, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you
it
guys
is for
ever
fun. That's
gone-
the purpose.
Yeah.
And let me just one more thing about
Please.
is, we do it for the goodwill. But that's what we're about. We're trying to win friends and influence people. So we tend to be a little more generous when we're doing this stuff. We don't want to take anybody off over a silly game, basically. So
Right.
Right.
that's kind of, we want to sell more beer, but it's all about goodwill. It's a way to promote.
There are probably several people in the competition where you get past a certain point, they want to be taken out. Because like, I'm fighting here, but I don't want to do
I
it.
can't take any more.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing is,
Look.
no guy wants to be beat by a woman in it either. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's kind of a source of pride. and there are a lot of women that beat all the guys. So it's just
Yeah.
too
That's
bad for them.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen how many mosses you can carry at one time? You know how like
No.
they do over in Germany, or have you ever tried it to see how many you can
No.
get?
No, I'm not interested.
Steve's like, again, it's for drinking and not.
Yeah. Exactly.
Have you tried that, Scott? I know I haven't.
I tried it and I got 4 easily. The problem was I could have done more. Nobody else would give me their beers. Like it was the people
Oh,
that
yeah.
they didn't want to sacrifice their beers.
Alcohol
do
abuse
more.
right there, man. We don't
Yeah.
want it spilled over.
They're like, no, you're not having my beer. So I said, oh well, I could do 4, but I could do it easily. But
There you go.
those girls that do it and stack them it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
amazing.
And when you're at Oktoberfest, it is actually happening.
Yep, there's some science behind it too. The way the handles fit together and the whole thing. It's some strength. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Guys,
let's
I know
let's not get into math tonight, okay?
It is very impressive when those young ladies do it.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. So, Steve, you got anything else? We want to let these guys go home, I guess, at some point.
Yeah, I guess we just want to talk about, I know you have a lot of locations across the United States. Is there any talk about expanding into other cities, anything like that you all can discuss at this point?
We're always looking for an open. We basically last year we took on our former president of franchise retired. And a new gentleman came on who has hospitality and restaurant background, and actually was familiar with our Hofbräuhauses in Pittsburgh, Columbus, and Newport. So he's kind of taken over, and he spent most of last year kind of revising our franchise structure because obviously you guys are familiar with what's going on with a lot of tap halls around the country and microbreweries and stuff like that. It's gotten to the point where those large venues are just very difficult to fill and maintain. And obviously running a brewery is very costly, especially if you're not at or above capacity. So we kind of done some reorganizing and some restructuring of our franchise offerings, focusing more on some smaller restaurant-sized places, maybe some smaller beer stubes, and of course beer garden type venues. So, and that's those are things that we're open to, and usually the way that works is if people are curious as to how that works or whatever, they go through to our franchise website and then they just put an inquiry out there, and they'll get contacted and say what they're looking for, and if there's a particular market that they'd like to be that they think that would be successful in, and we'll work with them and see if indeed there is an opportunity and for it to work in that particular area. But the way that works, the franchises work though is an individual would come to us and want to, open and run their business or has a place in mind and things like that. And, then they get from us the franchise rights, the name rights, and certain amounts of support and stuff like that in terms of the marketing and point of sale items and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we're always looking, and we're hoping now with the adaptations we've made, we've had a lot of prospects this year, prospective opportunities, and working through those right now. So, maybe we'll have some good news, in the upcoming months about some new location opening up somewhere besides Ohio. I know Jerry doesn't want to hear that, but somewhere besides Ohio would be nice. So,
I'm thinking that these guys would be great as owners of the Hofbräuhaus.
I was thinking that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sign us up. We got the shirts, got the pins.
Basically, we basically
hats.
work for you now. Look at us.
There we go. Got that. We got it. We got it all. But
Right.
the other thing I want to say too is that your website is a great resource for finding the beer. So if people are interested, how can they go on your website? Where would they go on your website to find that?
Yeah, the website again, and that's all Selena. A quick history on Selena too. We're very lucky to have Selena. She actually interned at the Hofbräu Brewery in Munich as an intern, and then when she graduated, she was there on their marketing team, and she was key in a lot of their digital marketing, their website, and everything. So she took a lot of what she learned over there and brought that over to our website, which is so that's why it's so user friendly and everything. But when you go to it, you've got the headers up there, you've got beer, you got history, and there's a tab up there called Beer Finder. You click on that, you enter your zip code, and you can find out exactly what you're looking for. If it's a restaurant, a bar, particularly if you want draft or bottles, and that automatically updates to our wholesalers reporting system pretty much every week. So if they say they have it, then you can click on there and it tells you what they're serving and everything and what's available. And it gives you a phone number. So if you just want to call ahead and double check and make sure that it's still there, you can do that too. So, that the website is really a great resource for, you guys mentioned it earlier, anything you want to know about the beer itself, breakdowns on the beer's ingredients, IBUs, all kinds of brewing technical information's on there. And then a lot of good history on the brand too. So
good merch too. I'm looking at the merch, and I've been at the gift shop in Munich, and that place, I could have spent a day in that place. I had to leave.
Yeah,
Great merch.
Yeah. The merchandising and a lot of that.
Probably costs a lot over there.
I should have brought it up. I've got it, and I'm looking at it right here. I've got a mini boot. It says Hofbräuhaus on it from over. Just the mini boot. It's so cool.
Yeah.
How much for drinking out of?
And a lot of what we do bring over. It's been a little challenging this year with the tariffs, but we do bring over what we can from Munich off of their offerings, and then we do have items produced domestically as well. So, but again, we try to bring as much over from Munich as we can to stick with the authenticity. So,
and that's and just to bring that up, so the merchandise, the wearables. I swear, every time I'm out in public and I'm wearing a Hofbräu shirt, one will approach me and say, "I was there. I've been to Munich."
Yes. Nice.
How cool is that?
It always happens.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's like you said earlier. It's a brand that is recognized around the world. You just see it and you know what that is.
Yeah.
Well, I know when I'm wearing mine from now on, I'm gonna be like, I was on a podcast with these two guys.
Absolutely.
Talking about the brand.
What if they say, "Do you work for Hofbräuhaus?" I'll be like, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Tell them Selena.
Would love to.
Yeah, you know Selena. That's all you got to drop. That's the only name that's important.
Hey, one last thing for me, and we've talked about it a little bit, but when someone sees your brand, and you just kind of really alluded to it in the wild, what do you want them to think about your brand when they see you? Is it kind of that, "Hey, I was there," a memory somewhere?
I can tell my thing. I kind of like what Jerry meant. To me, it's great because that person's sharing a very something they remember, and it makes them happy, makes them smile. And what is beer all about? Beer's here to make us happy, right? So to me, it's a big win because it made that person happy and happy enough that they felt they needed to share that with someone else too. So
yeah, and that pretty much encapsulates it. If you remember your first car and the fond memories you had of your first, that's great beer, great memories. It's not about the taste profile. It's not about, all the ingredients and everything else. It's about the experience that you had with the brand and the fondness that you have for it. That's, then when people recognize the logo, you can see in their eyes that they're thinking about a great time that they had or a great point of their life that happened because of Hofbräu or happened with Hofbräu.
And I can attest to that. Steve talked about us going to Newport before. I've been to Munich and I was with friends then. I'll never forget that experience. And I will be in Columbus for Thanksgiving for like 3 or 4 days. I'm going to Hofbräuhaus. I actually made that decision today. I was like, oh my God, guess what we're doing?
Yeah. It's a nice look. It's a nice location. And, and again, it's under the same management group as Newport. So you'll get excellent customer service and a great menu as well. So
yeah, and actually ask for Jason. Jason is the brewmaster there, and he does a great job. Yeah, and they're actually celebrating their anniversary this week, I think.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
so they've been around for a while too. Yeah, it's a good place. Very nice. I actually was there a couple weeks ago. Good place. Nice location.
I'll make sure to get by there for sure. Steve, anything else?
Oh, man, how can I top that?
I know. Anything we didn't cover you guys want to speak to?
No. I just want to say thank you guys for the opportunity to talk about obviously something that Jerry and I care a lot about, professionally and personally. It's really great to share some of these stories with people who like to hear them, and are willing to ask some good questions and hear some sometimes long-winded answers. I'm glad I got Jerry here to reel me in sometimes.
So. People often ask us what our favorite beer is, and I say it's any of mine, and it just depends on who I'm with and the good times I'm having.
Yeah.
Love it.
So the beers that I've had tonight have been my favorite beers.
There you go.
That's great. Same.
I'm gonna say that too, gentlemen. We'll end it there. I say Prost. I have a little left on what was a lot.
I'm gonna have to open one, but
come on, Jerry, you're falling behind.
Come on, Jerry, go ahead.
That doesn't normally happen. But anyway, Prost.
Prost, everyone.
You guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for joining
guys.
us.
Thank you. The Hofbräuhaus on the Brewery Underground podcast. We appreciate it. Cheers and
Thank
Prost.
you.
Absolutely. Prost, guys.
Prost.